Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the Three Topics Hammer here to give you another episode of my weekly Q&A titled The People's Questions, where I answer a series of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. This episode was relatively basic. I think we got like 5 questions. I think maybe one new person. And there were another number of questions I was able to answer in the comment section of the last video. So if you haven't already gotten your notifications that I commented to your video, then you know where to look if you remember that you sent one. So before jumping into these questions, like always, if you happen to enjoy this video by the end, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and press the subscribe button if you happen to enjoy content like this and would like to see more from me. So starting off with the first question, comes from the Batman of Gotham, and you want to know, what do I think Revengeance's opinion would be of the Jedi Council during the Clone Wars? Well, I think he would be a bit surprised that they haven't really changed their way of thinking for the past 1,000 years. They're still expecting to kind of fight the Sith as the way they were, and they didn't take into account that the Sith had adapted and changed their ways over the past 1,000 years, and that's really why they were caught so badly off guard and were completely decimated when the Jedi Purge happened during the twilight years of that Jedi Council. For someone like Revan, that probably would not have happened as much. I think the Jedi Council of his time was in the middle of fighting that kind of conflict, but the Jedi Council of near the end of the Republic wasn't like that. They weren't in that position, and so yeah, I think he kind of would have encouraged them to kind of broaden their thinking a little bit more. So the fact that they were really so backwards in their way of thinking is really what cost them the most. So yeah, I think Revan would understand the Jedi Council of his time, but I think he would be surprised that it hasn't changed that much in that amount of time, knowing how the Sith like to operate. So yeah, I think that's kind of what he would think about it. Next question comes from GOG. You want to know, have I watched Transformers cartoons before? Yes, I have, but I have not seen all of them. I did not watch the classic 80s version. The first one I do recall watching as a kid was Beast Wars, which was kind of like done in this like computer graphics like style, which if you look back at it is, I mean, it looks okay for now standards, but yeah, you could definitely tell this is something from the 90s. But I would say the one that I certainly did enjoy watching the most is the Armada series with the mini-cons. And I do recall that's probably the last Transformers series that I recall seeing. I don't know what they're at right now. I was aware of the Prime series, but I didn't watch that. But yes, I did watch Transformers as a kid and as a teenager. Yeah, I did. Next question comes from, I believe, the only new person that sent in a question, and you go by the name of Hans the Conqueror, cool name, and you want to know, what would be my PlayStation 5, what would be in my PlayStation 5 games to buy list if you look at what we know with a good percentage is confirmed, coming, and unconfirmed? Okay, well, just off the top of my head, things like Ratchet & Clank, that's a system seller. Horizon 2, God of War 5, probably, I'm sure we'll get another Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sure we'll get another Spider-Man game, I'm sure we'll get another Days Gone, whatever comes from Quantic Dreams next, pretty much anything that is a typical PlayStation exclusive franchises is probably something I'm going to get. There weren't too many exclusives that I played during this generation that I didn't pick up. There were very, very few. So that's pretty much the driving force in terms of games that I know I'm going to get, in terms of games that we know are coming in and things that haven't been confirmed. So yeah, if it's a PlayStation exclusive franchise, chances are that's going to be on my buy list. Next question comes from Knighted Slayer 666, and you want to know, do I think that Metal Gear Revengeance should get a sequel, or do I think that the Arkham series should get a sequel? Absolutely fucking not to the Arkham series. It's done. Why the fuck would you want another sequel to that series? There's like 6 or 7 of those games, and that franchise has been going for 10 years. I'm kind of glad we're moving on to something else. So I'm excited for Gotham Knight. Let's get away from Arkham. It's been done to death. I think it had a fine conclusion. Not perfect, but a great conclusion, just like The Dark Knight Rises. Let's move on from the Arkham series. Let's just do something new. There are so many different directions that they could go in terms of Batman games. We're done with Arkham. Now, in terms of Metal Gear, no, I would like a sequel to Revengeance. Problem is, I don't trust Konami with Metal Gear. If a Revengeance game was to come, someone else would have to develop it. I really do hope within, I'd say, the next 2 to 3 years, someone goes out and buys the rights to it and actually does another Metal Gear game. I don't care if it's Revengeance. I don't care if it's a sequel. I don't care if it's a complete reboot of the entire franchise. Heck, at this point, I would completely support a reboot that just redid everything about Metal Gear and just created a new era. I would completely support it at that point, because I do not trust Konami touching anything that has Kojima's signature on it. If you're going to do Metal Gear, do it your own style, away from Kojima's vision. Kojima is the only one who I trust with that franchise, and he is doing just fine moving away from it. That is something I have wanted to see him do for some time. I know what he can do with Metal Gear. He is an absolute master at that franchise. But I would like to see him tackle other franchises, and he did do that with Death Stranding. Not a perfect game, but I enjoyed his vision and his approach, and I can't wait to see what his next game is going to be. But in terms of Konami, with the franchise, I do not trust them with that at all. Someone needs to buy that franchise and just do another game. The second they do that, my interest in the franchise will return. So yes, I would like a Revengeance game, but not from Konami. And the last question of the episode comes from Red Guilty. And I've answered this question several times, but I guess I'll answer it again. You want to know, what mythology do I think Santa Monica Studios should turn a game like... Wait, what? Okay, this is weird because how you've structured your sentence, but I'll say it how you've written. Which mythology you think that Santa Monica Studios can turn to a game like Egyptian mythology or Japanese mythology? Listen, I don't really give a damn what Santa Monica Studios does with whatever mythology they want to do. Listen, they're just like Christopher Nolan to me. At this point, they have gotten a free pass to do whatever they want. They've earned my trust. I'm not going to question anything they want to do. They want to make a game about this, they can go ahead and do it. They want to make a game about that, go right ahead. All I care is that it's good and entertaining. At that point, they can do whatever they want. They've earned a free pass from me. They are a studio, in terms of quality of games, I absolutely trust. I mean, I'd like to see them do something other than God of War, because, you know, God of War seems to be kind of like the flagship franchise of PlayStation, but heck, you know what? I wouldn't mind if they took a break from God of War and did something else. And whatever they want to do, they have my absolute support in. So that does it with the primary 5 questions I was able to answer for this particular video. I'd like to thank the 5 that sent in your questions that made it into this video, as well as everyone else that sent in questions that I was able to answer in the last video. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me before Wednesday, before noon, before I start filming the next episode. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next week.